He was never the fastest player on the pitch, never the strongest, and never the one who chased attention with flashy runs or aggressive movements. But from the very beginning, there was something different about the way he saw the game. While others focused on speed and power, he focused on space, timing, and control. Every match felt like he was reading a different version of football that nobody else could fully understand. Even as a young player, his style was calm, almost silent, but incredibly powerful in its simplicity. People did not always notice him at first, but the game always seemed to change direction whenever the ball reached his feet. As his career developed, that quiet control became his signature. He didn't need to run everywhere on the pitch because he already knew where the game would go before it arrived there. While other players exhausted themselves chasing the ball, he positioned himself in spaces where everything naturally came to him. His passing was not just accurate, it felt intentional, almost like he was guiding the entire match with invisible strings. Opponents tried to close him down, but the real challenge was not stopping his movement. It was stopping his mind. Because once he had even a second with the ball, the rhythm of the entire game would shift under his control. Coaches quickly realized that he was not a normal midfielder. He was something closer to a conductor in an orchestra, controlling tempo rather than just participating in play. When his team needed calmness, he slowed everything down. When they needed attack, he created opportunities with passes that seemed impossible from his position. Fans began to understand that watching him was not about explosive highlights, but about understanding football on a deeper level. Every touch had purpose, every pass had vision, and every decision seemed to be made before anyone else even recognized the situation on the field. As he reached the peak of his career, his influence became even more obvious in the biggest matches. High-pressure situations did not affect him the same way they affected others. While stadiums became louder and opponents became more aggressive, he remained calm and composed, almost untouched by the chaos around him. In crucial moments, when most players would panic or rush decisions, he would take his time, scan the field, and deliver passes that broke entire defensive structures. His presence alone changed how opponents approached the game, because they knew that giving him space, even for a moment, could decide the outcome of the match. Over time, his style became a lesson in itself for younger players and analysts who tried to understand what made him so effective. It was never about physical dominance, but about intelligence, awareness, and control of rhythm. While football continued to evolve into a faster and more aggressive sport, his approach remained rooted in patience and precision. He proved that you don't need to dominate physically to dominate a match mentally. Every game he played reinforced the same idea. Football is not only about running faster than others, but about thinking clearer and seeing further than anyone else on the pitch. As his reputation grew across Europe, more people began to realize that what he was doing was not just skill. It was control over time itself within a football match. He never looked rushed, even when the game was at its highest intensity. Instead, he created a strange sense of calm around him, as if the entire pitch slowed down whenever he received the ball. Opponents started to hesitate before pressing him, because pressing him too early meant being eliminated with a single pass. Pressing him too late meant giving him full control of the situation. This constant dilemma made him one of the most difficult midfielders to defend against in modern football. In big matches, especially under pressure, his influence became even more dangerous. While others struggled to maintain composure, he seemed to improve with every increase in tension. The louder the stadium, the clearer his decisions became. It was almost as if chaos around him helped him focus better. Instead of reacting emotionally, he always chose the most logical solution, even in moments where instinct would normally take over. This made him extremely reliable in critical phases of the game, where a single mistake could decide everything. His teammates trusted him completely, knowing that if the ball reached him, the situation would be under control again. What separated him from other great midfielders was not just passing ability, but the way he understood space. He could see angles that did not appear obvious to others and used them to break defensive lines without forcing unnecessary risk. Every movement he made off the ball was calculated, even when he appeared static. He did not chase the game came to him. This unique understanding of positioning allowed him to dictate tempo without needing constant physical involvement. Even when he was not directly involved in an action, he was still influencing how the entire match was unfolding around him. As seasons passed, opponents began to design entire strategies just to limit his influence. But even then, stopping him completely proved almost impossible. If marked tightly, he would simply release the ball faster and move the play elsewhere. If given space, he would control the match entirely at his own pace. This adaptability made him nearly impossible to neutralize. Coaches often had to accept that he would always impact the game in some way, no matter how much preparation went into stopping him. His consistency at the highest level made him not just a player, but a constant factor every team had to account for before kickoff. Over time, his legacy began forming not through goals or physical highlights, but through control, intelligence, and influence over the flow of the game. Young midfielders started studying his style to understand how someone could dominate without speed or strength. Analysts began to describe him as a player who changed the definition of midfield control itself. He showed that football is not only about action, but also about timing, patience, and awareness. Even when his career moved toward its later stages, his style did not fade because it was never dependent on physical peak, but on a football mind that stayed consistent at the highest level. Even as football continued to evolve into a faster and more physically demanding game, his style remained proof that intelligence could still compete at the highest level. Many believed modern football was only about speed and pressing, but he consistently showed that control of rhythm and vision could still dominate matches. His presence forced teams to rethink how they defended midfield spaces, because traditional marking systems were not enough to stop his influence. He changed how coaches prepared for matches, making them consider not just individual players, but the mental structure of how a game could be controlled through one mind operating at a different level of awareness. In many legendary matches, his influence could be felt even when he was not directly involved in key actions. Simply his positioning on the pitch forced opponents to shift their defensive structure, opening spaces for his teammates without him even touching the ball. This invisible impact made him even more dangerous than players who relied only on direct contributions. While statistics could show passes or assists, they could never fully capture how much control he had over the rhythm of a match. His value was not always visible on paper, but it was always felt by everyone who understood how football truly works at the highest level. As his career reached its final stages, respect for him only grew stronger across the football world. Younger players who grew up watching him began to study his movement, decision-making, and calmness under pressure. Coaches used his style as an example of how intelligence can shape a game more effectively than pure physical ability. Even when his physical pace naturally declined with age, his control over matches did not disappear, because it was never based on speed in the first place. Instead, it came from awareness, anticipation, and an understanding of football that remained sharp until the very end of his playing days. Looking back at his career, it becomes clear that his legacy is not defined by moments of chaos or individual highlights. but by consistency and control over decades of top-level football. He represented a different philosophy of the game, one where thinking faster mattered more than running faster. His influence changed how many people view the midfield role entirely, turning it from a physical battleground into a space of intelligence and structure. Even after retirement discussions, his name continues to appear whenever football intelligence and game control are mentioned, proving that his impact did not end with his final match. In the end, his story is not about being the fastest or strongest player, but about proving that football can be controlled through vision, timing, and intelligence. He showed that a player does not need to dominate physically to dominate a match mentally. Every pass he made, every decision he took, and every match he influenced added to a legacy built on understanding the game at its deepest level. Even today, his style continues to inspire discussions about what it truly means to control football, making him one of the most unique midfielders the sport has ever seen, remembered not for power, but for complete mastery of the game's rhythm.